shit's about to get real. Here we go again. I will never know. This shit's about to get real.
Hello my friends, Scott here representing Youth Potential. We're now on part 2 of my experiences as an inpatient. Just to summarise, at the end of the last video I spoke about the importance of forming friendships with the other patients, and actually now I think about it, the mental health staff as well. I just personally strongly believe that it's very important to make friendships with these people, because it's going to help you feel more normal, it's going to help with the anxieties, help with any kind of emotional or mental struggles that you're feeling at the time. It's going to make you feel more normal and appreciated as well. So anyway, let's carry on with the rest of this video. Now, other than occupational therapy and spending time with the other patients, there wasn't really a lot that I did day to day. I just kind of did my absolute best when I was in the right mood to just kind of speak with these other people, these other patients that are in the mental health ward like myself. I wanted to get to know them. I was just curious, you know, interested. You guys may not think that adventuring out of your room and talking to like the other patients is important, but I honestly think it is. Even if they've got a massive age difference or are in there for completely different reasons to you, I think you've got to try and find common ground. You've got to just give it a go, because most of the time while you're in there, there is going to be almost nothing happening, okay? It is very boring being in a mental health ward. It is so dull, okay? You've got almost nothing to be going on. Occupational therapy, from my experience, kind of is like an hour a day. Sometimes if there's 2 occupational therapy activities, it could be 2 hours of your day killed. But I got woken up at like 6 in the morning every morning, and they make you go to bed by 12. And so, if you're like me, you really struggle to get to sleep without medication, you're going to be awake all day, okay? And it is so dull. The days are so long. You're clock watching. You're like, oh, when's bedtime, or what can I do? You just constantly think about what can I do, because they take things from you that you're not allowed. I was quite lucky. Obviously, I was allowed my phone and my headphones. If they'd taken my headphones away from me, I would have not got out there as quickly. I would have been so frustrated, okay? I need music, and I'm sure you guys are very similar. It is so dull, okay? The days just drag long and long. There's hardly anything to do. You can either sit there and watch TV all day, you can spend all day in your room, you can go and do occupational therapy for an hour or 2 or whatever, but it is so boring, okay? So that's another reason why I think you've got to go and make friends with people, because you need to be able to talk to these people to pass time. And obviously it's more enjoyable when you've got people in there to talk to. Like I was lucky, I had so many people to talk to in there. I formed friendships with these people. I spoke about their problems. We spoke about my struggles, and obviously all sorts of different general interests in that. And it just made the day so much better, okay? I can't stress this enough. You really should make friends with the other patients in there, okay? It's going to be so much better. And we all kind of looked out for each other as well. Like, I noticed that there was some real care amongst like the group that I was kind of in, if you like. Like, if we ever like didn't have any tobacco or whatever, we'd like just give it out willy-nilly, no questions asked, no expecting nothing in return, all that kind of stuff. Vincent, one of the other guys in there, he lent me some of his like Marvel comics and that to have a look at, and that was obviously really kind. And another guy that I made friends with, Jacob, in there, we spoke about music all the time and showed each other like different bands on YouTube and that kind of thing. And it was just so, it was like a nice little community almost. We had like a little community going on there. We'd go out for a cigarette, we'd talk to each other about things, we'd sit in the living area, talk about things, sit at the dining table together and talk about things, you know. It makes so much difference, because it as I say, it is so boring in there. It's so dull. There's almost nothing. You can't really just go outside whenever you want. You can't do whatever you want. They won't allow certain things in your room. You have to kind of like have them take them out of your locker, which we all had, but be monitored. Like if you wanted a shave, you'd have to be watched the whole time for obvious reasons. You know, yeah. So I'm really glad that I made friends in there, because it made the difference. If I hadn't have made friends in the mental health hospital, time would have gone so slow for me. It felt like it went slow anyway, but without friends and having conversations with people, getting to know people, it would have been so much worse. So if you guys are ever an inpatient, please, once again, please make the effort to make friends. Find common ground with these people. Do what you got to do. It's so much better. You feel understood, and you feel respected, and you felt like loved in a kind of way. I certainly felt that way. So what else? I had to have medication 3 times a day. So with breakfast, just after lunch, and just before bedtime. And yeah, they dispense it out of a little room that's obviously got locked cupboards in there, and you're not allowed in there. They dispense it to you, and they make sure that you've swallowed the medication, so that you don't try and save it for later or whatever. We had visiting times between 3 and 5 and 6 and 8. Personally, I didn't really want anyone to visit me while I was in there. I had my family talking to me daily, my friends talking to me daily. They wanted to come and see me, but I explained to them that I didn't want to see them, because whilst I was in there, I felt like that wasn't the right environment for people to be communicating with me. Just messaging each other or phone calls was enough. I just didn't want people to see me, because I'm not going to lie, I felt really kind of disgusting in there. I felt like really ashamed of myself for some of it. I felt disappointed, frustrated, angry, and I was very easily irritated, okay? As part of my symptoms as the person that I am, and I just didn't want to kind of like limit myself to a specific time. Sometimes I want to speak to people, sometimes I don't, but trying to set a specific time across to be visited by people, it's kind of hard to work around, because you don't know what mood you're going to be in at that time. So I just said to people, just please don't come and visit me. What else? Yeah, so you get a ward review as well. So I had a ward review a few days into being there, and I had one right at the end. They just kind of discussed with me, on the first one they discussed with me like how I'm feeling, what's going through my head, and how did I feel about the medication I was taking. I told them that I didn't feel that the medication was working, and the medication I was on at the time was a different dosage and a different antidepressant to what I was taking before. So they got me finally onto the same antidepressant I used to be on years ago when I got out of my struggles back then, and the right dosage for the antipsychotic medication that I take as well. So it was good that since this kind of like bleak period that I've been in recently, that they finally listened to me and got me on the medication that helped me all those years ago. So that's a good thing. But it's quite anxious being in a ward review, you know. You have like I had one of the mental health nurses that was always kind of like lurking around the ward. I had a psychologist as well that I'd kind of spoken to earlier on, and 3 kind of like consultants or doctors. I'm not quite sure what they were, but it's quite intimidating, you know. You walk in there and you're just kind of like, oh, it's little old me sitting in front of like a panel of judges almost. That's kind of what it felt like. And I was sitting there, I was really anxious. I kind of like held myself like this, and my leg was twitching, and I really struggled to look them in the eye. And they were talking to me so kind of, how can I describe it? Almost like robotic. There was kind of like no care. It's like, so come on, Scott, tell me how you do. There was no empathy. There was no care. There was no kind of being careful with me. And I was fucking nervous, you know. I was really anxious and scared. And it was only kind of like one of the mental health nurses that was from my ward. She was the only one that kind of spoke to me more normally. And yeah, the ward review was effing scary, you know. Really is scary, because they're coming at you with these questions, and then they're starting to tell you things, and because the anxiety is kicking in, I'm kind of disassociated myself from the situation, and I don't really understand kind of what they're telling me, and I'm too afraid to kind of ask. Anyway guys, okay, so that's part 2. I'm going to be coming back with part 3 in a minute, so make sure you get ready to watch it.